with different dealers throughout the country and influencers in the auto business coming together and collaborating on the best ways that we can move forward through this, since we've all been affected and we certainly all share a very common ground in our retail industry. So today I have with me a really special person, Joshua Mitchell, and he is the BDC director for the Hubert Vester Automotive Group. And Joshua, man, you're no stranger. You're a big influencer on social media. It's one of the reasons that we have you. And of course, the biggest reason is your pedigree and what you've been able to accomplish over the years, especially in the BDC and internet department. So share with us real quick. It's the Hubert Vester Auto Group, but how many rooftops is that?
Well, first off, you called me special and an influencer, so I don't even know how to go for after that. But, so we have 5 rooftops, 2 Honda stores, one's in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, Toyota store, a Chevy store, and a Nissan store in Roanoke Rapids also.
Okay, now are you actually accepting all of the calls or working the internet for all stores from one location?
Correct. Yeah, so we have all 5 locations go into a centralized hub. So I've worked in kind of that centralized environment going on 2 years now. So it makes it a little bit different, but it makes it to where in the situation we're in now, it makes it easier because we can work from wherever now. But we are still in the office and still kind of, doing business as usual, as much as usual as we can.
Okay, yeah. So your team that talks with customers and sets appointments for all these different locations, you're in one central hub, and you're essentially all together right now in that particular location as kind of as usual.
Well, so we did what, we did a furlough of half the employees for the first 2 weeks of the month, and now we have the next set. So kind of been in the trenches with them. So we went 3 on, 3 off. And now we're on with the next 3. And so it's kind of been a reset when you have 3 that you get kind of in the trenches with and you're good, you got a good rhythm going. And now we've kind of reset and we got another 3 in here to get things going again. So it's been a challenge to say the least through this process of going through this. But you find a lot of the holes or the things that you've put off. Now you have time that you kind of have, I revamped my complete process that we do. I revamped all of our templates that we have in our system. Like it's really, for us, it's kind of honed in on just getting better through this.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening in a lot of places. I think initially when this thing hit, obviously it's unprecedented. We haven't ever had to write a COVID script, right?
Yeah.
But so there was that initial, hey, how do we approach our customers or even potential prospects that hear from us during this time? And I know that we at Auto Dealer University created a script specifically for this, but it was really about the approach. I still use that one word, really, no matter what times we're in, but now especially we have to think about our approach, right? Approach is everything. So that's what the script is all about is the approach and what's the right message? What's a way that we can all live with where we're sensitive to consumers and yet also have the responsibility of sharing what's available right now as we are obviously continuing to move on. And there's definitely some things that are unprecedented going on from lenders and factories for our prospects and customers, and getting that message right. But when you kind of had to make that shift, what was your message to your team about their approach and what the shift should look like? And maybe we're going to speak a little bit differently right now during this time.
Yeah, I mean, we are Auto Dealer University subscribers, and so we got the scripts and everything. But at the very beginning, we had to for years and years and years, we're always taught to get them in the door, and we beat that into their heads to get them in the door.
Right.
And to kind of reverse that, it's like goes against your being.
It does.
It goes against your being, and so we had to kind of do a complete reset of gearing where the customer is, because some of them were very much, especially early on when all of this was coming about, a lot of consumers were kind of putting off things until this kind of got settled. And so we had to be compassionate, obviously, and understanding. And then we also have the ability to deliver vehicles, so they can shop from A to Z all the way through. We have virtual F&I. And so we could actually do the entire process while they were sitting at home. And so I really had to teach my people how to gear and listen for those things that consumers are saying that are like, this person is going to come in no matter what. Like, they don't care about this whole situation. They're going to go wherever they want to go right now. And then you have the others that are on the high end that are like, I'm not leaving my house. And so where to gear them during those conversations so you can have, a temperature gauge of where they are. And so I stole something from, Drive Centric with his little, the virus scale, which is kind of like the pain scale.
Yeah.
So we started sending that out to kind of gear some people, and people are responding to that. So we kind of know where they are. But early on in this process, it was very, very difficult to gear where people were. Some people would tell you right out the gate, like, I'm not doing anything until this is over with. And some are just kind of still wishy-washy. But what I found in these past couple weeks is that consumers that are putting in the internet leads, people that are making the phone calls, are a little hotter than we typically would have dealt with. Like, people who are putting in leads are buyers right now. You don't have a lot of tire kickers around. And so those people are very, very, and they're very upfront that if they are looking for the 2 or 3 week window, they're going to tell us. But a lot of people, like, we're seeing a lot of people who are committing to appointments and showing up. That's another thing, showing up.
Hey, yeah, that's a great point that you make. I've actually been really thinking about that heavily over the last 48 hours because it hit me a couple days ago, and I was like, you know what? I think we're at a point now where if we're getting reaction from the customer, they're a player. I mean, There's no question about it, because if they're open to coming or open to doing whatever, or especially if they're contacting us, oh my gosh, it's game on, right? Mm-hmm. And here's what I would say to that. And this is something I obviously try to share with everyone. And it's not like it's an epiphany from Dave Cribbs, but the point is that I believe that consumers that are in a position where they're not as affected, right? They can see what's going on around them. Some of them are even gaining right now, depending on the profession that they're in. It's a minority, but there are a few that are even experiencing financial gain during this time. The point to that is, though, that they realize that this is an unprecedented time. They realize it's an opportunity right now. So you've got, like, going back to what you said, Joshua, setting up your people that they are savvy enough to figure out where they're at on that scale of concern, right? And then diving into those areas, whether it be someone who is really uncertain and wants to hold off, finding out the best way to continue that dialogue and either convert them or set them up as a 30-day from now type of deal, or whatever the case may be, right? But then being savvy enough to pick up on those people who are a little bit more prepared or ready or open. Again, it's game on. You can shift the conversation very quickly when you have someone like that, because quite frankly, it is an opportunity for those who aren't afraid or are in a position to move forward.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, there's, from 0 for 84 months to the 120 days without a payment, like, there's so many things out there that has made it a lot easier. So even if they have a little uncertainty in their brain, 120 days without a payment opens up that door for, this is going to be okay in 120 days, hopefully. And so they're more willing to make those moves. And if you got 0%, if you have a Chevy dealership or any of those dealerships or OEMs that are actually producing that 0%, now's the time to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I just had a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who actually is in the business. He's in the fixed ops side, but he and his wife traded their vehicles in, bought new vehicles, bought a couple of new vehicles because they were, pricey vehicles. So a fairly, decent payment. You double that and think about not taking, two large car payments out of your budget for the next 3-4 months. That's a nice little incentive, right? Especially if you are lucky enough or fortunate enough to be in a position where you are still working.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're working, your income maybe hasn't been as affected. You've got a stimulus check possibly coming in, and then no payments for a few months. Heck, it could be a windfall for you in some cases.
Exactly. And we found like a lot of our businesses come from nurses and doctors that are around here, because there's a lot of people who typically weren't going to buy another vehicle because they weren't traveling a lot. But we've got a lot of traveling nurses in our area. And so now all of a sudden they're driving a lot. They're like, this car is not going to get me to the next point. And so I need to upgrade. And so we've had a lot of nurses and first responders that are doing more traveling now, that are upgrading their vehicles due to the fact that they obviously are in the front lines that we need. We need them out there, and they are in a position to upgrade a vehicle because of travel or whatever they're doing now. They're in a better position to be able to do that.
Yeah, and you made me think of something else, but I want to acknowledge a couple people that jumped in. Joe Calla, he is our VP of Sales and Operations, and also an amazing trainer himself. He says, "Hey, Joshua Thomas Mitchell and David Cribbs." We got Sandy Zanino jumped in. She said, "Yay, Josh Mitchell!" So you have a fan there as well.
My two fans.
Hey, I'm sure you'll see a lot more as this thing gets shared around. But here's the thing, when you just mentioned that about the healthcare workers, that you guys have seen a little bit of an uptick of people you've been able to help out in that profession, I would think that would pose, and maybe you guys have already taken advantage of this, but it seems like that would pose some opportunities for testimonials and also, social media messages that you were able to help these first responders get some relief as well, right? They're relieving us and we're relieving them, kind of deal. So I would think that would maybe go a long way in your social media outreach as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't like to use the word capitalizing on it, but I mean, we are, those fine folks are giving us great reviews, and they're usually writing novels when they give us reviews, which is even better. But being able to help those people, I mean, because they are our front lines, and they definitely need to have a good vehicle to get them from point A to point B. And we're grateful that we have had the opportunity to help them.
Yeah, and I think that stays within the theme of really where our heads should be right now, is just helping people get this relief that we have access to right now in this time. So I didn't mention this when we opened up, but you're in Wilson, North Carolina, and I spent some time my junior year in high school. I stayed with my father who had a home up there in Kenston. Are you familiar with Kenston? Not far away, right?
Not far away at all.
Yeah, I was there my junior year in high school, and we have one of our other clients, Massey Toyota, is over there in Kenston, and we have a BDC director over there named Angie. She follows as well, so she'll probably chime in here, especially when we get it into the I just shared it into the Facebook group for Auto Dealer University, so the private group. So I'm sure she'll catch that. She follows that pretty closely. So she's right down the road from you as well. So you can say hi to Angie over at Massey Toyota, and Josh Mitchell is right down the street here in Wilson. So it's a beautiful area, by the way, Josh.
It really is. I mean, it's got a lot. I live in Cary, which is right outside of Raleigh.
Okay.
I need a little bit bigger city than Wilson. But it's a nice area. There's about everything you can imagine around here, so it makes it for a good area to live in.
Yeah. So being right outside of Raleigh, I looked that up on the map, and it's showing that Wilson's about 40 miles away from Raleigh. And I'm wondering, as a smaller dealership, or smaller town rather, outside of a large town, I'm certain that you guys get traffic from Raleigh, but is there anything specific that you guys do to try to capture more of that market share from Raleigh? Is that mentioned in either advertising or, anything that you guys are doing?
I will tell you, I mean, we usually keep it around that 35 to 40 mile range. So we get to about Nightdale when we're doing, and then Greenville which is right down the other way.
Yep, know
I
where
mean,
that's at.
it's when marketing in this area. I mean, you got Raleigh, which is a big player market, very, very aggressive market, probably the most aggressive I've ever seen. And so we try to go to the smaller cities around us when we're really looking in the marketing side of things, to kind of hone in on our backyard. Plus, there's a lot of little small towns that kind of
Yep.
go all the way around us. So we kind of go that route when we're going into the marketing side of things.
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk a little bit just about, kind of, we talked about you prepping your team for the message, and do you, and I think that you might have alluded to this earlier, but I kind of feel like we're in phase 2 right now, right? There's like the initial impact and reaction of, oh my gosh, what's happening, right? And how do we respond to it? And it's time to shrink in a lot of cases, and figure, and obviously dealers are affected differently depending on the part of the country they're in, but we're all impacted. And for the most part, it was kind of a shock, right? Now we're kind of past that initial shock and our ideas, and we've gotten some help and assistance and resources, and we're beginning to get the message out. But now we're in phase 2, where we're kind of in the middle of it. It's becoming a little bit more clear as far as, we don't have all the answers yet, but it's coming a little bit more clear as far as we believe this thing's going to be somewhat controlled. We know that we're going to wind up kind of opening back up a bit very soon. And then, of course, I feel like that's going to be like phase 3 once we're kind of fully open and people are going out again. But right now in phase 2, a couple of things that you said earlier is that you're feeling like people are now getting a little bit hotter leads. You're getting more leads coming in now, right? It's already beginning to break open a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely with the lead count. We saw a huge dip at the very beginning of this. I mean, 30-40% drop in lead count. And now we're starting to see that kind of creep back up and go back up to the way that, pre this was going on. And so it's very difficult to figure out all this. Like I kept telling people that, we're not playing chess, we're playing tennis. Like the decisions that we've had to make early on in this, were very quick, and now we're seeing all that settle in and kind of, okay, this worked, this didn't work. This marketing plan, we had to put on the back burner. We went more towards third party, because we had a lot of consumers on third party websites, Cars.com, Auto Trader. So we had to go more into those realms. But we're seeing lead count kind of come back up, phone volume come back up. And so we're being able to really see where we're headed in these next 2, 3, 4 weeks on how we can scale this back up.
Yeah, and it's got to be even more challenging when you have different locations that you're working with, because each store looks a little different, and of course you have different brands and whatnot. So that's got to be a challenge. But for those who are using off-site, because I know we have some other partners with Auto Dealer University that do have a similar setup that you guys have. What type of advice would you offer maybe some of those other groups that are set up in a similar way, as far as keeping that communication with each different store kind of more organized and more so that, I guess, the salespeople on the other end can really line up with the customer when they come in, so that the customer, when they talk to you, feels like that it's all consistent?
Yeah, I think for us, it came to our leadership team, which I'm part of, and we had a lot of meetings leading up to making all of these decisions. So we made sure we made an informed decision. So as a leadership team, you have to make sure that you're communicating how this is going to come about, like with the stimulus money, with everything, so you can have, and the leadership team needs to make sure that they're being transparent with everyone, but you're not leading anybody in the wrong direction, because as we know, decisions we were kind of thinking about making, we had to change on the fly with this. And so not giving them all the information, you're not hiding anything by any stretch of the imagination, but you would be misleading if you told them the information at the very beginning. And so as a leadership team, you have to make sure that you're having the conversations, and making the full-on decision on what you're going to do before you roll it out. And so everybody knows where we're going. And then the biggest thing for BDCs being offsite or even on site, the communication is key. Like over communicate now. This is the time where there's no stupid questions. You have to over communicate with the management team, with the leadership team, with the GMs, the BDC, vice versa. Everybody has to communicate. This is the most important thing, that we have a way of communicating that maybe is, we use an app called Crew, which goes on the computer and on the phone, so we can have communication with them. So we don't actually have to call or go over to there. So there's some kind of distance in there. We're social distancing. But having a communication platform so you can have that dialogue and everybody knows where we're going with, like with appointments, making sure that they're teed up for those people, and they know that customer's coming in.
Yeah, I think that's huge, right? That's probably the biggest thing when it comes to whether, even if you were on site, right, in the same building. That's one of the biggest things, is that communication, especially if the customer does wind up getting, for lack of a better word, handed off to a salesperson, right? So that's a huge point. We've got, by the way, we've got Tabitha Flythe in the broadcast, said hi to Sandy, and I wanted to ask you also, Josh, do you guys happen to be a TrueCar dealer or no?
Yes, we are TrueCar.
Okay, so you may be aware of this, especially if you caught my interview with Carrie Wise. But they were in the works, in the process of rolling out some additional options when it came to their clients, as far as streamlining some of the online processes and offering some more options online for customers, for their dealer partners. And that was supposed to come out a few months down the road, and they've backed that up now. And from what I understand, I believe she said they're launching those options May 1st. But some of those options, as a dealer partner, you still have to opt into in order for them to be updated. So I don't know if you've already researched that or not, but I wanted to bring that up, not only for you, obviously, but for other dealers that would see this broadcast that maybe didn't see the TrueCar broadcast with Carrie. But I thought that was a big deal, especially because you could be a TrueCar client, and if you're not really like proactively looking, you've got this tool that they've added that you have to opt into. And if you don't know it, I'm sure they're trying to reach out and get the word out. But if you don't know, then you might be missing something that you have as a benefit anyway.
Yeah, and I think with it, regardless if you're a GM, a BDC director, manager, like right now is the time to be very vigilant on what's going on and what your third party providers are actually providing, because they're trying to move at lightning speed to bring new tools to keep us afloat and keep things going. And so, like with TrueCar, with the buy at home badge and being able to do that, now they have the payment options that they're going to be bringing out. I mean, there's a lot of things with, cars.com is bringing out some different things on their buy at home badge. And so there's a lot of things, there's a lot of tools that are coming out, and, we got our heads down trying to figure out all the other stuff that's going on, trying to figure out how we can keep, employees staffed here and things rolling. And as we're doing that, all these new things that are good, but they're all rolling out at the same time. So keeping yourself knowledgeable on what's going on, it's been a challenge. But yeah, there's a lot of things that our third party partners, truly have become partnerships with us that are trying to help us move the needle and keep going.
Yeah, it's funny, Josh. I think it is a big deal for us to do that, not just to keep up with what vendors, but also keep up just with the industry. Like, this is an interesting industry in that, I think that people begin this industry with, oh, let me try out this job, right? Or I just need a job until I get a real job, right? We've heard that a million times. But when you begin to really understand the vastness of this industry and even the opportunities on the retail side, even if you're beginning as a salesperson, and I can share this, for years I didn't realize how much opportunity there was really in this business, right? I would have never thought, looking back years ago, that this would be my role right now. So there's a lot of different things that are available to people in this industry. And to that point, we owe it to ourselves to really study our craft and really take advantage of all the resources. I mean, I have my entire sales team now tuning into CBT News in the mornings, reading automotive news articles. Of course, we have Auto Dealer Live every week where we're talking to dealers. I mean, and I will say that we're very blessed in that in the positions that we're in as the particular vendor that we are. We kind of get to look from 10,000 feet above and see what dealers are doing what and what works. And it's part of the reason for this broadcast is sharing and collaborating those things. But there's so much available. Do you believe that when someone comes into this industry, they really have no idea of what really is out there for them potentially?
I mean, I can speak from the heart from that. I mean, I was in the mortgage industry right during the crash. And so I've had going through this, it's kind of, almost have like flashbacks of what happened back then on the financial side. But yeah, I mean, it's not an industry that most people think, when I grow up, I'm going to be in the automotive industry. It's just typically not that. But yet it opens so many avenues. And that's what I've been blessed with. Never in a million years thought, number one, I'd be in the auto industry. Number two, that I'd speak on a stage. Number three, have a podcast and be on Facebook Live and do this and do that. Never in a million years would I have ever thought that I would do that. Yet it's opened up that door for all of those opportunities for me. And so, for anybody who's, because we're going to have a huge boom, with trying to recruit people into this industry very shortly in the next few months. And so, it's an industry that, yes, you can make a lot of money, but yes, you can make a lot of impact in your life and the people around you. And so it's not just an industry that you can make an amazing living in. It is, but the people that you touch, the impact that you make on people's lives, especially when you make it into, a leadership role and you have the leadership qualities that I feel that are the best, is to be able to impact people's lives and make a difference in it.
Yeah, we definitely see that from the people that are so successful around the country. But well, Josh, I think we're going to probably wrap it up. We've been about right at 30 minutes now. Believe it or not,
30 minutes goes.
it feels like it's 3 minutes, but let's see. Sandy says, love the car business. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I fell in love with it. And yes, Josh, it's time for dealers to really pay attention to their employee value proposition.
Oh, amen.
Yeah. So, and really, why shouldn't we? I mean, gosh, with what if we start to really dissect the auto business, the opportunities and the facts, we do have something pretty incredible to offer, especially someone who's just beginning. They can come in and I mean, who could come in virtually out of high school and make six figures a year in a business starting from day one? Exactly. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right?
It is.
Jim Ziegler says we have to have a gun and a mask to do that.
Yeah. And it's an industry that it's up to you on where you want to go. I mean, any avenue from finance to the HR side. Sandy, you're going to love that I said HR because nobody mentions HR ever. But HR to, the service side to BDC to sales management. And there's so many different avenues, and obviously selling cars. You can make, you look at Ali in Michigan, the guy sells 70, 80, 90, 100, 150 cars a month. He's made a great living. And this is the avenue for him. I mean, and for everybody who's looking to, just change careers, this is an amazing career to have.
Yeah, it definitely is. In fact, so I'll just kind of let the cat out of the bag for a moment. But one of the little series I have coming up, it's probably a kind of a fun series for Auto Dealer University. But I'm adding some stuff in there that's, what's the best position in the store? And basically, I walk through every position and talk about why that is actually the best position in the entire store. Because you can argue, like an Ali Rada or a Frank Crenity who's selling 100 plus cars a month, that they're like selling more than some dealers, right? the point is that that's the best position in the store. And then you can argue that the closer who gets the opportunity to close more deals and see more people and make, convert people, that's the best position in the store. And then you can argue that the finance guy who puts all the deals together, who's negotiating with the banks and the lenders, who sees every customer and also potentially makes the dealership so much more additional revenue, that's the best position in the store. And then the new car manager, and you see where the path is going.
On and on.
The point is, appreciate the position you're in, because each position is the best position in the store.
Exactly.
So we got one of that coming up. But hey, I want to thank you, and I want to remind dealers that right now, as part of this COVID series, Auto Dealer University is sponsoring this little mini series of podcasts to kind of collaborate with those influencers and dealers around the country that offer a few words of wisdom in this time. And part of what we're doing in as far as our contribution and giving back is we're offering our COVID script, an outbound call script that has been very effective, that dealers are really embracing and getting results with. We're offering that for free. It's been running across the bottom of the screen. Just reach out, call or text. You can have that. We don't have to hunt you down, do anything like that. You can have that. It's on us. If you would also like free access during this time, this COVID time, we're giving a 30-day window here where you can explore Auto Dealer University. Your whole team can get on it. And we have an entire mini series on COVID-19. And next week, Josh, well, actually it's this week because today's Monday. At some point during this week, we have phase 2 training of COVID-19. We talked about that a few minutes ago, that we're in phase 2 right now. So we're pushing that out this week. And then, of course, the third phase, when we're fully back open and most dealers are functioning and hitting on all cylinders as we come back, that'll be the We're Open series. And we'll kind of top it off there. But the point is that I think that, the value there is that, and one of the things I love about Auto Dealer University is we're creating content based on what we need right now, and that's every day, no different in COVID-19. So I want to thank you, Josh, so much for spending a few minutes with us today. You're doing amazing things, by the way. Again, I mentioned when I introduced you, you've got a great, not only a great pedigree, but you're very active in doing so much more. How can people follow your podcast?
So you can find me on pretty much everywhere, any type of podcast that you can find. It's BDC Raw is the name of it. Going with, the conference that one day I'm going to have. September 21st is the date right now, but subject to change with all this going on. Hopefully we can gather in large groups. But they can find me there on the podcast. You can find me on Facebook. It's Joshua Thomas Mitchell. And you can find me on LinkedIn. So I'm pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Auto Disruptor on Instagram.
There we go. I love it. Well, thank you, Josh, so much. Dealers, thank you. Tune in again. We're going to do just a couple more of these before we get back in the offices here in about a week or so, it looks like. So thank you so much, Josh, and everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.